Hi, I'm a possum and I find garbage. Today's garbage is Doom Annihilation, or as I like to call it, Doom Inebriation. It's a movie based on Doom, in much the same way Thor: The Dark World is based on the Prose Edda. You know what Doom is, right? It's a game about shooting demons that was so popular back in the 90s that it caused all kinds of productivity issues in offices around the world, namely by making Windows the dominant operating system. Speaking of things that are barely functional and full of bugs, my dick almost retracted into my body when I first saw the trailer for Doom Annihilation, because it looked even worse than the 2005 Doom movie with Dwayne Johnson and Carl Urban. You know, the one with the stupid plot about scientists discovering a 24th chromosome that causes some people to turn into monsters and others to become really strong. Now, my cousin has an extra chromosome, and it makes him really strong, but it also makes him unfit for any job more complicated than bagging groceries. And he likes that movie unironically. But plot aside, even that Doom movie is a better representation of the games than this new one. And it at least has some entertainment value as a schlocky action film. But Doom Annihilation is mostly just boring, tensionless drivel. I mean, even the title sucks. Doom Annihilation? It might as well be Doom Resurrection, or Doom the Last Space Marine, or Doom the Revenge. What's all this noise? I'm trying to record a video. Oh, it's a demonic invasion. Yeah, the police will handle it. On to the review. Knee-deep in the fan service. If you're a Doom fan and you were hoping to see some Doom stuff in this movie, you'll be disappointed. I mean, I expected the movie to be horrible and have next to nothing to do with Doom, and I was still disappointed. The Doom guy, or Doom Slayer, or whatever you want to call him, is not in this movie. In fact, none of the characters from any of the games are in this movie. Well, there was this one guy named Dr. Bertruger, like the main villain from Doom 3, but aside from being the bad guy, he has nothing in common with the character he's named after. None of the monsters from the games are in the movie either, except for the zombies and imps. You know, the lamest ones. And that's really frustrating. You have all these unique and iconic creature designs from the games, and they don't use any of them. There aren't any Hell Knights, Pinkies, Mancubi, Cacodemons, Archviles, Lost Souls, Arachnotrons, or anything like that. Just the ones that could easily be portrayed by a guy in a rubber suit. And they didn't even do anything creative with the creatures they did use. The zombies are just guys with blue skin. Compare this to the design in the most recent game. They don't even look like zombies, they look like vampires or something. And the imps are just cheap costumes. They actually remind me of a terrible Predator ripoff I saw on the Sci-Fi Channel like 10 years ago called Alien 3000, which I forgot existed until now. People complained about the 2005 movie not being a representation of Doom because the monsters aren't even demons, but that movie at least had more than one creature from the games in it. There were imps, a couple Hell Knights, and even a Pinky, all based on their designs from Doom 3, which was the most recent game in the series at the time. But this movie doesn't look like any version of Doom. Outside of a few wink-wink references, it doesn't have much to do with Doom at all. They don't even have any of the guns from the game, except for the super shotgun, which gets fired exactly twice, at zombies, and then disappears from the movie. I mean, I guess the BFG is technically in the movie, but it barely counts because it's such a lame portrayal of it that it doesn't even make the demons explode. They shoot at some zombies and imps and they just fall over and die. Look what the BFG does in the games. Now compare it to this movie. What the hell is that? Even the 2005 movie had a better BFG. Beyond that, none of the other weapons from the games make an appearance. There's no rocket launcher, no plasma rifle, no Gauss cannon, none of them. I mean, there's this one guy who uses a big machine gun which makes a spin-up sound like it's a chain gun. But it's not a chain gun. It doesn't even have the spinning barrels. Even the 2005 movie got that right. So aside from the super shotgun, which gets used in one scene, and the BFG, which is so nerfed that I almost refuse to call it that, none of the iconic guns from the games are in this movie. Instead, everyone just walks around with these cheesy rifles that look like they're made of plastic. So this movie has none of the characters, only one of the creatures, and basically none of the weapons from the games. About the only thing this movie has in common with Doom is the premise, and even then, only just barely. Even the music sucks. The Doom games have always been famous for the music, ever since the first game, which unapologetically took inspiration from the biggest metal bands at the time, to the most recent Doom game, which mixes death metal with electronic sounds to create what can only be described as audio violence, evoking the sound of machine guns and chainsaws. That sets a pretty high standard for what we should expect from the music in a Doom movie. But in this movie, what we get is generic hybrid metal, which I guess sounds okay for what it is, but it sounds like it could be from any modern action or horror movie. It's so lacking in character that I honestly thought it was stock music from a royalty-free website, but they actually got an original score composed by some guy named Frederick Wiedemann, who you might know as the composer of such famous film scores as Hellraiser Revelations, The Scorpion King Book of Souls, Green Lantern the Animated Series, and All Hail King Julian. The Shores of Feminism. The first thing everyone noticed when they saw the trailer for Doom Annihilation is that it has a female protagonist. If this movie was made 10 years earlier, nobody would have had a problem with that. But in 2019, after an all-female Ghostbusters whose defenders cried sexist to anyone who criticized it, woke Star Wars, which thinks diversity is a substitute for story and character, and a Batwoman show in which a female character riding the coattails of a vastly more popular male character unironically says things like this.
I'm not about to let a man take credit for a woman's work.
The filmmakers had to expect replacing the male lead of Doom with a woman would be taken as some kind of political statement. I don't know for certain if it was intended as a political statement, but if it was, the Doom fandom is probably the last fandom in the world which would have even the slightest bit of patience for forced social justice pandering. The Doom games are a celebration of manly aggression, toxic masculinity incarnate, and I'm saying that like it's a good thing. The Doom Slayer doesn't care about identity politics, feminism, or Orange Man bad. He isn't sensitive and caring, and he doesn't respect safe spaces. He's a man who gets things done as simply and directly as possible. He just wants to kill every demon he sees, and he is willing to kill anything that gets in the way of his killing, and he certainly doesn't care if that offends anyone. This is the character you play as in these games, which are designed to positively reinforce aggression by rewarding violence with more health and ammo, so you can commit even more violence. If you're looking to shove social justice in the face of the Doom fandom, you're barking up the wrong tree, because any addition to the Doom franchise which tries to do so will be met with predictable and vociferous rejection by the fans as an abdication of what made the franchise so appealing to begin with. It is idiotic to do this with a Doom movie if you try to appeal to the franchise's core audience, and that's why id Software was smart enough to come out and distance themselves from it. Unlike some people in the games industry, they have more brain cells than genders. And understand, the problem is not that they put a woman in the starring role, it's that they did so in a Doom movie. If this was Tomb Raider, Blood Rain, Resident Evil, or any other movie based on a game with a female protagonist, nobody would have a problem, and nobody has had a problem. It's the fact that they took what is quite possibly the most hyper-masculine character next to Duke Nukem and replaced him with a woman in a move that can only be interpreted as some kind of vain attempt at looking inclusive to appease a pink-haired audience who is never going to watch it anyway. And what does it say about you as a writer or producer or whoever made this decision that your strategy for creating a strong female character is to take an existing male character and gender swap them? What is the implication here? That you can't create a compelling female character from scratch, so instead you need to tap into the popularity of a pre-established male one? Am I the only one who sees the sexism in that? If they really wanted to make a movie based on a video game about a woman in space armor who shoots monsters, they should have adapted Metroid. Actually, I'm willing to bet that everyone who was turned off by Doom Annihilation would have loved a Metroid movie. But I guess Nintendo was smart enough not to sell their movie rights to Universal. So instead, we got this garbage that Universal slapped together so they can hold on to the rights for another decade and write it off on their taxes while desperately trying to convince us they aren't sexist. So now we have this big dumb movie nobody wanted. How many man-hours were spent making this? All these people could have been picking up garbage or something. Alright, now, to be fair, aside from the decision to change the main character into a woman, there isn't really any overt feminist pandering in the movie itself, which makes it far more tolerable than it otherwise might have been. But when you think about it, that almost makes it worse. The fact that the main character was changed into a woman doesn't serve any narrative purpose. You could easily recast her as a man and it wouldn't make any difference to the movie at all. So it really just comes across like they were late in the pre-production phase, when some out-of-touch studio executive zipped up his fly long enough to say,
"Hey, put a broad in it so the women's will watch it. That feminism is popular right now."
it's just so shallow. Hey! Get out of my house! Who do you think you are?
Ah! I'm a spawn of Satan. I eat people.
You eat people?
Yes, I eat people, and I've come to eat your $10 patrons.
Oh no, not Blandest, Charles J. Harris, John Wellington, Keith Paul, Lex Reardon, Paco, and Victor Alexandrovich Gontar. They're all nice people I'm pretty sure don't smell bad.
Pathetic mortal. I shall eat your patrons, and you can't stop.
I know I told you to get out, but maybe you should stick around. For an ad break! Thy plot consumed. Oh god, I gotta explain what happens in the movie now. Ugh. The movie starts with an establishing shot of Mars with its moon Phobos, where the evil United Aerospace Corporation has a space laboratory. We see our first named character, Dr. Bertruger, who gets his name from the main villain of Doom 3. My parents also named me after a character in Doom 3, and it made my life really hard growing up. It's why I never go by my first name. You'd be amazed how many unflattering words rhyme with mancubus. Anyway, Dr. Bertruger walks up to a security door and opens it with a yellow key card, just like in the games, and enters a room with this evil-looking platform thing that's obviously demonic in nature. Then we cut to some guy on Earth named Dr. Barnes, who's talking to Dr. Bertruger on video chat. There's another evil platform nearby, and they're trying to use them as some sort of dimensional gateway. Since Dr. Bertruger is an idiot who's never seen a horror movie before, he activates it, and Dr. Barnes steps into the one on Earth and comes out the one on Phobos. Everyone cheers, somehow not noticing right away that Dr. Bertruger is looking like Marilyn Manson's rabbi, so obviously something went wrong. Title sequence. We then cut to our protagonist, strong female character, a space marine waking up from a dream about her dead mother. Her real name is Joan Dark, but that's even worse than John Grimm from the first movie, so I'm just gonna call her what the movie wants us to think she is. So anyway, it turns out strong female character just woke up from hibernation because she's on a spaceship on a long trip from Earth to Phobos. She talks to the ship's computer named Daisy, which is a reference to Doomguy's pet rabbit. I guess since the movie made a reference to the game, I'm supposed to think that's clever and slap my flippers together and cheer, right? Go f*** yourself, movie. And even though a trip from Earth to Mars would take them away from the sun, we see the spaceship headed toward it. Then the pilot guy gets on the intercom and tells everyone he went through their stuff while they were sleeping, and it's not clear whether or not he was joking. We get a shot of strong female character taking a shower where we see the scars on her back. Not that they have any relevance or anything else in the movie. I guess it's just so we understand that she's tough. I'm not sure how you get scars on your back from working in a kitchen, but there it is. Then we cut to the obligatory alien ripoff scene where everybody eats breakfast and we're introduced to our vapid characters. Angry Asian lady, white guy, Asian guy, Australian guy, blue hair lady, Arab guy, black guy, and nerdy guy. Strong female character walks in, and they all leave except for Nerdy Guy, who it's revealed she used to date. Nerdy Guy is some kind of scientist he's excited that he gets to go to Phobos, but strong female character is mad about it because they only send Space Marines to Phobos if they screw up. Okay, let's backpedal a bit. So this whole breakfast scene is obviously ripping off Alien, but if you remember that movie, its breakfast scene actually gave us a little bit of information about the minor characters. We find out that they're all glad to be getting home, or so they think, and they all hate their jobs. There's a similar scene in Aliens where all the Space Marines eat breakfast, and we get a sense from the way they talk about the colonists they're supposed to rescue that they don't respect civilians, and we also see that they're all hyper-masculine and like to mess with each other in a friendly way, so we know they care about each other. But the equivalent scene in Doom Annihilation doesn't tell us anything about these minor characters. They spend the whole time talking about Asian ladies' lucky underwear getting stolen, and then they leave. I mean, I guess we also learn that blue hair lady had knowledge of the French language programmed into her brain while she was hibernating, but that detail has absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the movie. Her ability to speak French never becomes useful. The fact that it's possible to program knowledge into somebody's brain is irrelevant, and this character gets like 2 lines before she dies. So basically, we learn nothing important from the scene, other than that these characters exist, And as we will soon find out, they only exist to be killed, because the movie never gives them any more characterization beyond what's learned in this scene. The 2005 movie at least gave us some characterization for the minor characters. I remember the crazy guy who cut crosses into his arm, the perverted guy with the drugs, the guy with the wheels for legs, and so on. None of them are particularly deep characters, but they had more going on than any of these store mannequins. I can't even tell these people apart half the time. Anyway, we cut back to Phobos, where Dr. Barnes is locked up in a straitjacket, and Dr. Protruger explains to a guy on Earth through a video chat that Dr. Barnes' condition was probably caused by antidepressants in his system interacting with a teleportation process or something, and that they should proceed with the experiment. The Earth guy says he won't allow another human volunteer to go through the gate, so Dr. Protruger says he'll do it himself, despite the obvious danger. Why don't you just send a monkey or a rat or something? That's what test animals are for. I thought scientists were supposed to be smart. We cut back to the spaceship where their captain is telling everyone about the UAC lab they're going to, which is something they should have had explained to them before they left Earth on a months-long journey to another planet, as opposed to having to learn everything minutes before they arrive. But I guess when you're too lazy to come up with a better way to dump information on the audience, you need to have the characters do things out of order. It's explained that the laboratory is powered by a fusion reactor.
What kind of a reactor?
Fusion reactor.
Nuclear.
Yeah, but it's safe.
Because nothing bad ever happened with nuclear power.
Okay, first of all, I'm getting really sick of scientifically illiterate movies stigmatizing nuclear power. They always treat nuclear power plants like they're interchangeable with nuclear warheads or something. But if you have even the tiniest bit of knowledge about how they work, you know that isn't even remotely accurate. Second, there are huge differences between a fusion reactor and a more typical nuclear reactor, and to talk about them like they're the same is like confusing a steam engine with an internal combustion engine. Third, how can you possibly be afraid of nuclear power when you're comfortable zipping around at astronomical speeds in a spaceship? Do you have any idea how complicated spaceships and space travel are, and how many things could go disastrously wrong? This is like if you were holding a lit stick of dynamite and you were afraid of a guy with a pair of scissors. And do you have any idea how much energy it takes to travel between planets? What's powering your spaceship if not nuclear or fusion? Because it certainly isn't being powered by a wind farm. So anyway, Nerdy Guy tells them that they should just be more worried about Phobos itself, because it's one of the most unstable moons in the solar system. Like this is supposed to make these idiots more comfortable with fusion power. Captain Guy tells them their mission is to provide security at the Phobos base. Again, this should have been explained to them before they left Earth. Then Australian Guy gets mad and starts yelling about how they're only there because of something strong female character did, but we don't get to know what that is yet. Back at the Phobos base, Dr. Protruger talks to somebody named Veronica about nothing. Then we cut back to Captain Guy recording a message to his wife or something. He promises he's going to come home and retire, so you know he's gonna die.
The thing about crypto sleep is you don't dream. It's like you just close your eyes for a moment. So it feels like I just left you, and that feeling sucks.
Hold on, you don't dream in hibernation? Then what was strong female character doing just before she woke up? Did anybody proofread this? Anyway, Dr. Protruger goes through the gate. Then the power surges, which for some reason causes ceiling tiles to fall. Were they held on with magnets or something? Veronica goes to get a first aid kit for one of the scientists and hears something growling behind her. And instead of turning around immediately like a normal person would, she slowly turns around the way people only ever do in movies, and screams. The Space Marines arrive at Phobos, but soon realize something's wrong when nobody lets them in. Nerdy Guy says there's an emergency entrance under the landing pad, because he knows this for some reason, even though it's explained he's never been in space before. He explains that he knows this because he read about the base when he found out he was assigned there, and evidently he's the only one who did. You know, if I was being sent out on a months-long trip to a hostile moon orbiting another planet, I would probably want to know a few things about the place before I got there. But the movie treats that like it's something only a nerdy weirdo would do. So they manage to get somebody in the base on the radio to tell them what's going on, then Captain Guy briefs the Marines on their new mission, which is to get the base back online and to secure the UIC's research data. They get a distress signal from the base, and they play the audio.
Daisy, play it.
Playing audio.
This is kind of a rip-off from the scene from the first Doom movie. So the Marines suit up with their plastic guns and helmets. An Australian guy thinks they're going to be fighting aliens, but Asian guy tells him there ain't no aliens. Then Black Guy makes fun of Captain Guy for bringing his double-barrel shotgun, like the super shotgun from the games. As the Marines wait for another door to the base to open, there's some kind of power surge on the ship, and Pilot Guy gets shocked by Daisy, but everything quickly goes back to normal. Then the Marines all enter the base. For some reason, they decide to bring Nerdy Guy with them into what might become a combat zone. But I guess it's a good thing they did because he realizes the base is running on 2% power, which means they'll have a core meltdown, which will blow up the moon in 90 minutes. So Captain Guy decides to split the team up so half of them can go fix the reactor, while the rest go find the server with the research data. Hey, Captain Idiot, if none of the people who live and work at the Mars base could get the power back online, what makes you think this guy who's never been here before can do it?
Well, they have guns and military training, so maybe he figures they have a better chance.
Then that just raises the question of why they didn't have armed military guys at the base before. These guys weren't sent to deal with a demonic invasion, they were just assigned there, and a demonic invasion happened to break out just before they arrived. So how long was this base active without any security personnel?
It's a science lab on another planet. Why would they normally have armed security personnel? It's not like somebody's gonna break in.
Exactly. Why would they have security personnel on an isolated Mars base? Why would strong female character and her team get sent there? It's a waste of resources.
She got sent there as punishment for disobeying orders.
Then why don't they have her mopping floors at Camp Lejeune or something? You know how much it costs to send somebody to Mars? Why spend billions of dollars? And that's why you should wash your hands after taking a piss. Now get out of my sight, you prick!
Yes, sir.
Alright, back to the review. We get a few minutes of the Marines wandering around with their guns until one of the teams ends up in the basement of an oil refinery, which the movie wants us to believe is the waterworks of a space lab, where they find the decapitated body of somebody named William J. Blazkowicz, which is actually Doom Guy's real name, and the name of his ancestor from Wolfenstein, another id Software game. Strong female character takes a blue key card from him, and then they see some weird writing on the wall which Asian guy happens to know is Sumerian. They ask Daisy to translate it.
Have come to reclaim what is ours. Through wrath will come justice. Through pain to divinity. No escape this time.
Then they continue looking for the server. Then as Pilot Guy sits on the ship, he realizes his flask is empty and gets up to refill it. So he doesn't see the computer screen showing the computer is altering the Marines' navigation data, which causes the Marines to walk to a dead end. So they turn around and one of the groups ends up back in the waterworks and the other ends up in the hydroponic garden, which consists of a dirt floor and some walls covered in vines. I think they only had 2 vine walls, which they just kept moving around between shots to make it look like they had more than they really did, because you never see more than 2 in the frame at any given time. Really? So Asian lady wanders off without telling anyone, as a well-trained Marine should, and white guy follows her.
We're not supposed to break ranks. I thought I saw something.
Asian guy thinks he sees someone and walks up to him, but it turns out he's a zombie and he kills Asian guy because he was alone for some reason. Then Asian lady shoots another zombie, then Captain Guy's team finds some survivors and one of them is Veronica from earlier. But then an Australian guy fights and kills the zombie that killed Asian guy, but then strong female character reads the zombie's name tag, which says Dr. John Carmack, which is a reference to the first Doom movie.
Dr. John Carmack, geneticist.
What?
There's a scientist here. That's a he.
Like a human.
What, you're surprised to find out that it used to be human? It's wearing human clothes. Did you think it was a bear or something? So one of the survivors gets killed by another zombie and then more zombies rush in and we get our first big action sequence which really showcases how cheap this movie is. The zombies all look the same, so it's like they just had 5 or 6 actors that they kept reusing. Anyway, Australian guy gets scared and runs away, leaving strong female character to fend for herself. Oh, watch this scene, it's brilliant. Okay, so black guy shoots a big gun that makes the spin-up sound of the chain gun from the games. but it doesn't even have the spinning barrels, so it makes no sense why it would sound like that. And then he makes a reference to Ultra Nightmare, which is the highest difficulty setting in Doom 2016.
Ultra Nightmare, motherfucker!
It might seem like I'm nitpicking, but it's like the filmmaker's idea for how to adapt Doom into a movie is to just do whatever and shoehorn in a bunch of references. They're not even trying. So anyway, Black Guy dies, then strong female character fights some zombies with a conveniently placed chainsaw that just happens to be in the waterworks for some reason. Then she looks at one of their name tags and it says Olivia Wilkes, which I guess is supposed to be important judging by strong female character's reaction. Then Asian lady gets killed, then Australian guy tries to climb a ladder as slowly as possible as the zombies jump all over and climb after him. Then blue hair lady rescues Arab guy, then Australian guy gets chased down a hallway until he's rescued by strong female character, who then punches him in the face for abandoning her. Then white guy walks down a hallway and stands next to a seemingly dead body, and then we get a jump scare. Then blue hair lady, Arab guy, and nerdy guy leave the hydroponics garden and run into strong female character and Australian guy, but then they realize Captain Guy isn't following them. Cut to Captain Guy fighting zombies. He gets overwhelmed, but when strong female character tries to save him, he shoots the control panel, which causes the door to slam shut, because that's how doors work in movies, and he gets eaten. Gee, what a sad and tragic death. I'm glad we got to know that he had a wife and was going to retire soon. Then strong female character pins nerdy guy against a wall and demands to know what the UAC was doing, and he admits they discovered evidence of aliens. That's when Dr. Bertruger walks in with the white guy. Back on the ship, pilot guy tries to get Daisy to contact Martian command, but she can't, so pilot guy decides to take the ship up into orbit so they can get a better signal to Mars. But Daisy says she won't let them leave in a demonic voice, which is to imply she's possessed.
No one's allowed to leave.
Whoa.
Yes, the computer is possessed, because that can happen apparently. How do you exorcise a demon from a computer? Download a virtual priest? I don't think Norton would be up to the task. Anyway, some kind of monster sneaks up behind pilot guy in a scene that rips off the scene where the pilot lady gets killed in Aliens. And then we cut back to Dr. Bertruger explaining that the UAC has spent the past 30 years trying to find a way to colonize extrasolar planets. So they discovered the evil platform gate things, which they assume are all over the universe. And Dr. Bertruger theorizes whoever built them somehow knew how far along humans would be technologically by the time they discovered them. But they don't know who built them. Then Veronica says monsters came through the gate when Dr. Bertruger went through it. And then the other survivor guy, who's some kind of chaplain or something, says they were demons and the gate was a portal to hell. So the Marines decide they need to leave, but Dr. Bertruger insists they get the power turned back on so they can save the experiment. But strong female characters shoots him down, and they start making their way back to the ship. On the way there, chaplain guy notices the cross hanging around strong female character's neck, and she explains that she doesn't believe in God, and she only wears it because her mother gave it to her before she died of cancer. So they make their way to the airlock and ask pilot guy to open the door, but he won't respond, so they get Daisy to do it. Then strong female character leads Dr. Bertruger, Veronica, and chaplain guy onto the ship. Meanwhile, nerdy guy theorizes that humans may have gotten language from the demons back in ancient times when they ruled the Earth. Back on the ship, white guy talks to chaplain guy about nothing. Then strong female character finds pilot guy's dead body. Then white guy gets killed by an imp. Then strong female character gets found by a different imp who attacks her with his Adobe After Effects Fireball plugin. Arab guy hears the commotion, tries to climb onto the ship, but then the imp grabs him and rips his guts out. Then it attacks blue hair lady and Australian guy and they run away, leaving nerdy guy behind. Strong female character sees the bodies of white guy and chaplain guy, but finds Veronica alive and tells her to go hide with Dr. Bertruger. Then the imp attacks strong female character again, and his fireball destroys the ship's control panel. The imp pins her down and starts sucking out her soul or something, causing her to have visions of the movie's climax. But then it turns out chaplain guy is still alive, but then he gets killed. Strong female character manages to kill the imp, but then she has a dramatic moment with the chaplain guy right before he dies, and she acts all torn up over it even though she only just met the guy 5 minutes ago and has no personal connection to him. Blue hair lady gets attacked by another imp, and then Australian guy shows up and they kill it. Meanwhile, Veronica asks Dr. Bertruger what happened when he went through the portal. He says he doesn't remember. Then strong female character then finds the nerdy guy laying on the floor, but he's still alive. So our remaining heroes, strong female character, nerdy guy, blue hair lady, Australian guy, Dr. Bertruger, and Veronica, all sit around the table and realize the ship can't take off. Dr. Bertruger suggests they can use the gate to escape to Earth if they get the power turned back on, but strong female character refuses and says they should just wait for a rescue. But then nerdy guy points out that the reserve power is about to run out and cause a meltdown which will kill them. This causes strong female character to change her mind and use the gates. Australian guy says they don't have a chance because the base is overrun with imps, but strong female character says she would rather die fighting than sit and wait for the reactor to blow up.
What if we don't, we all die when the base melts down? If we wait, we die. If we do nothing, we die. If we're gonna die, I would rather go down fighting.
Now, let's not forget that strong female character nearly got her soul sucked out by a demon. Maybe dying in a reactor explosion is better than that. But they all agree that this is a good idea and decide to go turn on the reactor. Nerdy guy gets alone with strong female character and says they shouldn't use the gates. But strong female character says she wasn't planning to, and just suggested it to get Dr. Bertruger to go along with her real plan, which is to turn the power back on so they can call for help. So they all go back into the base and make their way to the reactor room, which has the same dirt floor as the hydroponics garden for some reason. What, do they not have enough money to build a floor for this set? So nerdy guy starts doing movie hacker stuff to get the reactor back online. Then Dr. Bertruger says he remembered hearing about strong female character and that she disobeyed an order which resulted in a bad guy getting away, which is why she got sent to the Phobos base. He rants about how she was accused of treason, which carries the death penalty, and just as nerdy guy gets his reactor back online, Dr. Bertruger whispers to Veronica that he lied about not remembering what happened when he went through the gate and stabs her, and then he runs out the door, locking them in. Then imps show up and attack them. Blue hair lady and Australian guy get killed, but strong female character and nerdy guy manage to kill the imps, and then they realize Dr. Bertruger wants to open the gate to let more demons in. Then it turns out Veronica is still alive, and just before she dies, she tells them to get to level 4 and gives them a yellow key card, which is kind of pointless because nerdy guy already has one. And then they somehow leave the reactor room even though they were locked in. It's never explained how they got out. Strong female character and nerdy guy make their way to a room where they find the BFG 9000, the most iconic weapon from the games, along with some plasma grenades. For some reason, the movie decides that now is the time to have a big dramatic character moment.
I f***ed up. I let that get away. I ignored the order, thinking I knew best, thinking I could be a hero. We were stationed here because of my f*** up. And now my whole team's dead. Guess it's a good thing I don't believe in hell, right?
Look, you made a mistake, but none of what's happening here is any of your fault.
Yeah, it is. So anyway, strong female character walks down the corridor with a comically oversized gun that looks like it would weigh hundreds of pounds if it wasn't made of plastic. And then they wait for the elevator. Just as nerdy guy says he's afraid of elevators, the doors open up and an imp grabs him and pulls him in, and then the door closes immediately after. It's like the door doesn't stay open long enough for somebody to board it unless they were being pulled in by a monster. Who designed this place? So then strong female character is cornered by 2 zombies and an imp, and she uses the BFG. Well, that was lame. So strong female character gets on the elevator and makes her way down to level 4, which is littered with dead bodies. She finds the room with the gate and sees Dr. Bertruger sitting at a control panel. An imp comes in and strong female character kills it so fast that's pointless, and then she gets attacked by nerdy guy, who's a zombie now. While strong female character is distracted, Dr. Bertruger starts turning on the gate, because for some reason he didn't do that before she showed up. And he starts ranting about how the demons gave humanity language, science, and math.
Language, science, math, they gave us everything. Without them, we wouldn't evolve.
That's right, these imps who don't wear clothes and never talk somehow gave humanity science and language. So Dr. Bertruger opens the gate as strong female character kills nerdy guy, but then Dr. Bertruger backhands her and takes her gun. But then, instead of shooting her right away like a smart person, he decides to stand there and monologue like some kind of cheesy villain in a bad movie.
I was reborn, Joan. What I thought was punishment turned out to be my salvation. It gave me purpose. He showed me the way, and he'll do the same for all mankind.
Hey, that's people kind, you sexist. So then strong female character uses her combat training to snatch the gun from Dr. Bertruger, which she should have seen coming. And she shoots him and takes his red key card. But then he gets back up and shows the big CGI gash in his chest.
You can't kill what's already dead.
And he uses demon magic or something to knock her into the gate. Strong female character then wakes up underwater with the BFG dangling from her hip, even though she didn't have time to strap it to herself before Dr. Betruger pushed her through the gate. I guess it's a good thing it's made of plastic, as she would have sank like Feminist Frequency's subscriber count. She swims out of the water and finds herself in a really vanilla depiction of hell, which just consists of rocks, a little bit of lava, and some twisty tube things. There's also some black goo which comes together to form a demonic figure, which I guess is supposed to be the devil or something. So Goo Guy knocks strong female character over as dozens of CGI imps gather to watch, and then he starts monologuing in a demonic language about how pathetic humans are and how they're going to take over the world or whatever. You know, typical villain stuff. But he's speaking in some demonic language and just keeps going like he expects strong female character to understand. But then strong female character has a flashback to when her mother told her to have faith. So then she gets down on her knees and prays to her Lord and Savior Jesus Christ to vanquish the evil. Just kidding, she picks up the BFG and shoots Goo Guy. I guess it's a good thing he was too stupid to take it away from her while he was monologuing. Anyway, the imps come charging at strong female character, and she shoots a couple more shots before running out of ammo. Then she jumps over a pit of lava and drops the red keycard, which somehow causes a portal to open. She throws some plasma grenades, then jumps through the portal. Strong female character then finds herself in the UIC lab on Earth and starts ranting about how they need to shut down the experiment, but doesn't explain why. And the scientists just assume she's experiencing temporary craziness from the teleportation process and restrain her. But then something is about to come through the portal. We hear a growl, and then the movie ends on a hook for a sequel that will never happen. No rest for the critic. Everyone on the planet hates Doom Annihilation. Well, everyone except for these two guys who write for Bloody Disgusting and Forbes. I'm not sure, but I think they might be idiots. In any case, the movie got an overwhelmingly negative reaction, especially from its target audience of males between the ages of 18 and 30, which is pretty impressive since all you need to please that demographic is explosions and nudity. But you know what's going to happen? Do you think the Universal executives are going to learn from their mistake and do better next time? Of course not. What are you, stupid? They're going to just throw up their hands and say,
well, I guess nobody wants a Doom movie, so let's not make another one for at least another 14 years when the rights are about to expire again, and just churn out more terrible Jurassic Park sequels in the meantime.
Doom Annihilation annihilated Doom movies. Doom Annihilation doomed Doom movies to annihilation. Doom movies were doomed to annihilation by Doom Annihilation. Do you understand what I'm saying? There ain't never gonna be a good Doom movie. Not after this. Not never.
Whoa. I'm gonna possess you.
Get the f*** out of my house! Thanks for watching my review. Like, comment, subscribe, support me on Patreon. I got a Twitter now. Follow me on Twitter so you'll know when I upload videos, because YouTube, they ain't never tell nobody who's subscribed when I upload. Go to Twitter.